Let's move forward about mobility. And you heard from Mitie a little earlier on, the remarks there about Mitie and the kind of facilities management system it is. But we want to hear more about that, and in particular, the Plan Zero, which is about being carbon net zero by 2025. And I'm joined by Simon King. Welcome, Simon. You've driven here, as I said right at the beginning, in your own car about 100 miles, and in order to get back, you've got enough in your not your tank, but in your batteries. You're Chief Sustainability Officer of Mitie. And notice how Mitie is spelled, M-I-T-I-E. It's not M-I-G-H-T-Y, even if that's the way you feel. Just help us understand a bit more about what you do, please. And also let me encourage, in the next 25 minutes, we've got open house for Simon, to put your questions to us, please, and I can feed them to Simon through the laptop here. What is the company doing?
Thanks very much, Nick. So Mitie is the UK's leading facilities management company. And what that means is we provide a range of different services to blue chip clients. So we have our technical services division who do engineering, so looking after buildings and asset maintenance. They also provide energy and sustainability services to our clients. And they also run projects. So that could be green projects, decarbonisation activities. Then we've got business services. They do cleaning, security and office services for our clients. And then also a specialist services division who do waste management, look after landscapes, and we also do some care and custody work as well. And that's for a real wide range of clients. So everyone from banks to retailers to schools to hospitals to critical government infrastructure.
27,000 people in the United Kingdom, still a United Kingdom, and the Republic of Ireland. And also you're acquiring others.
We've got, in fact, it's 47,500 employees we've got, and 37,000 of them have been on the front line throughout the pandemic, keeping Britain working. And we're just, we had the Competition and Merger Authority's approval yesterday for proposed Interserve acquisition, and assuming that all completes as planned, then that will actually take us up to 78,000 employees across the UK and Ireland, as you say.
So tell us about Plan Zero, because we heard about it a little bit earlier. Let's hear more, because others out there might be saying, that's what we want to do as well.
Plan Zero, as you said, is our commitment to achieve net zero carbon by 2025, but it's also to go further than that, and it's to support our clients in achieving their own stretching sustainability targets. The reason that Mitie is able to commit to that target by 2025, which is 25 years ahead of the UK government's target, is because we've got the expertise in-house. I've just mentioned we've got the engineering teams, we've got the energy and sustainability teams, we have the waste organisation, landscapes and so on. And so we've turned Mitie's expertise in on ourselves and treated Mitie as we would a client, and are able therefore to bring that expertise to bear. But as you mentioned, as a earlier on in the intro, we do a huge amount for our clients as well. We've saved over 300,000 tonnes of carbon in 1 year for our clients, and given back over 20 million of savings to those clients through the sustainability initiative. So it's doing it ourselves, looking to lead in industry, but crucially delivering for our clients as well.
Do they trust you that you can do this? I mean, when you say we're going to do that, do they believe you?
Absolutely, and often
to some people it's kind of really.
Sure, and often we will have energy or carbon performance contracts where there are gain share mechanisms. So actually the way that we get paid is when we deliver on behalf of our clients. So that's putting our money where our mouth is, as it were, but we absolutely deliver that for our clients.
Are some of them quite surprised at what you've achieved?
I think people are positively surprised by the level of ambition and delivery that we've had, yes. I mean, the fact that we have the most electric vehicles on the road in the UK of any fleet. We've
Almost
got
800.
Yep, 795 as of this morning.
That's why I said 800,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're doing a fantastic job there, and I think that because we're doing it ourselves, it really gives the credibility to the commitments that we can make for our clients. If we were just saying this is what you should do, but not walking the talk, then I can understand there'd be some concern about that. But we're absolutely delivering ourselves as well.
Do get the questions coming in, please. We've got 20 minutes to run with Simon. But the Plan Zero for 2025, most countries and most are saying 2030, 2040. How ambitious do you feel that is? Is it too ambitious?
I don't think it's too ambitious. It's we've got a climate emergency. We've all got to go as far and as fast as we possibly can, and we're very fortunate that we've got that expertise that I've mentioned within our own business that we can turn on Mitie and really deliver. So the fact that we've already managed to get 795 EVs on the road, that we've got a full program of decarbonising our buildings in place, that our waste team are managing our waste and bringing the amount of waste that we generate down, that we're able to look at the biodiversity of our sites through our landscaping team. We have a clear plan which gets us from where we are today with milestone targets each year over the next 5 years. And
do you always meet them?
We're on track so far and have met them so far, so I absolutely believe we'll keep doing that over the next 5 years, yes.
Now the headline would say, well, you've got 5,500 vehicles, you've got almost 800 which are now EVs here in the United Kingdom and Ireland. But it's not actually just about electrifying vehicles, is it? There's a much more fundamental challenge you're facing.
Absolutely right. I mean, vehicles, to be honest, are the easy part, and I look after fleet as part of my responsibility. And fleet directors, fleet managers have always looked at vehicles and said, well, this is the primary challenge that we have. I think that's changed with the move to electrification. Of course, vehicles are important, as is driver awareness and behaviour associated with those vehicles. But the fundamental change now that we've moved to electrification is it's all about infrastructure. Now, I often talk about it's now not so much about vehicles, but about an integrated energy system that happens to have cars and vans attached to it. And I think that's why, as a facilities business, one that has that engineering capability, that infrastructure capability, we're able to make the commitments we are, because as well as having the fleet expertise, we're able to bring in our Mitie energy experts to ensure we've got that infrastructure in place to support that accelerated rollout.
But is the infrastructure, I mean, we are speaking literally in a very dynamic situation, and I'm looking at my iPad to check what the latest is from Prime Minister Boris Johnson, because overnight he's announced 10 points for his idea of net zero and pushing. But talking about infrastructure, do you actually fear there's still too much talk about infrastructure and not enough delivery of the hardware that's needed?
I mean, we absolutely welcome Boris Johnson's announcement, which he said is phasing out the sale of internal combustion engines by 2030 in the UK. There's also been other good news in the US, for example, with Zeta kicking off yesterday, who are looking to drive a date of 2030 for the phase out of internal combustion engines as well. But absolutely, infrastructure remains a big challenge. Now, we're able to address that at homes and at workplaces, but we know that 45% of our employees don't have off-street parking. They rely on on-street or communal parking area.
And you expect them to have the vehicles at home with them?
Absolutely. Those vehicles home in the evening and then leave first thing in the morning to go off to client sites and provide the services to those clients. And so where they have got that on-street parking, we need to make sure that there's infrastructure in place. And Mitie are not unique in this. The AA released a survey just the other day that said they thought a third of people didn't have off-street parking. The RAC Foundation in the UK estimates it's 35%, and that's representative across many countries around the world. So ensuring that investment happens so that on-street charging or communal parking charging is available is absolutely crucial. And when you look at the sums involved, I believe that the commitment that Boris Johnson has made is £1.3 billion towards infrastructure, which is a great start, and we really welcome that. The road spend, which is anticipated, is about 28 billion, or the cost of high speed 2 at 100 billion, puts that 1.3 billion in context. And we need to make sure that infrastructure is there across on-street and communal parking areas so that no one is left behind in this transition to a zero carbon mobility future.
Now we're talking UK because you are operating in the UK. We happen to be in the UK, but this is a global issue as well. So that's why others can maybe look at what you're doing and say, this is what we need to be heading for. Do you reckon, thinking more broadly, that there are many companies out there who can go for 2025? Because there are a couple of questions already saying, is the current economic climate businesses can afford to become net zero by 2025?
I'd increasingly say it's a question of can they afford not to, because in many areas we see zero carbon for zero cost is absolutely possible today, and that's only becoming more the case. So on electric vehicles, for example, we see that certainly electric cars and small vans, it's currently cheaper to run an electric fleet. When you look at a whole life cost basis, than it is to run a diesel fleet. So it's the right thing for your pocket as well as for the planet, and clearly it fits in with all the policies which are being announced as well.
You were actually telling us, we were asking you how much it costs for you to fill up your car overnight, and you reckon about £4 as opposed to £40 for fuel, buying fuel at a petrol station.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a fraction of the cost. You've got lower service maintenance and repair costs associated with electric vehicles, depending on the taxation regime of the country in which you operate. Certainly in the UK, it's very tax efficient to run electric vehicles. So you've got to look at all of the various aspects, not just the acquisition cost. And when you look at that real whole life cost analysis, it's absolutely a saving.
Let's move quickly through some questions. Miriam Axel from Imperial College. Any examples of solutions that have come directly from your clients? Are you learning from your clients?
Oh, absolutely. We've got a range of clients across all sorts of different parts of business, and we look to understand what they're doing and how we can incorporate that into our solution. So we have to be a little bit careful about when we mention our clients sort of in public, because they're not always happy for us to talk about them. But we collaborate with a range of clients. You mentioned Vodafone earlier on. We've collaborated very closely with Vodafone to deliver 25,000 tonnes of carbon saving there and about 10 million of savings for them. So we collaborate with those organisations and look at what works for them, and of course then look at how we can share that benefit and that way of working with other organisations as well.
This from Rob Wilkinson at the University of Cambridge. How do you see the opportunities for repurposing commercial property given post-pandemic changes in retail and home working? In other words, are you seeing almost an explosion of opportunity here?
So I think it's very early to say what exactly is it that's going to happen after the pandemic.
And we straws in the wind.
Yeah, we provide services now for people who are working from home and supporting that as well, because I think we see that there are certainly benefits. When we look at our own business, remote working clearly is something that we're doing where possible. 37,000 of our employees have to be out delivering the services to critical clients. But where we can, we've got people working from home, and we've seen our fuel usage has dropped by about 25% year on year. Now that's partly, of course, because of the shift to electric vehicles, but also because we're doing less mileage as a result of that. So I think we will see more changes to working patterns. What exactly that means to real estates and how clients choose to look at their real estates, I think it's too early to say, but that remote working certainly delivers a sustainability opportunity.
Just a comment here from Jack Pallis from New Ventures Consulting. I think you'll just smile at this. Great stuff from Simon. Can they bring their expertise, passion and commitment to the US?
I'm very happy to try and share some expertise and experience with them, but we don't have any operations in the US right now, I'm afraid.
Question here is in the current economic climate, can businesses really afford to become net zero? I know I've asked that before, but there will be some who are saying we're struggling for survival. How on earth can we make that shift? Therefore, what kind of service does Mitie provide?
Well, we've just launched our Plan Zero playbook, and anyone who's watching or at all can go onto planzerocarbon.com and download that. And that lays out this A to E approach that we would encourage organisations to take. And we believe that if you look at zero carbon across all aspects of your operation, then it's possible, as I've mentioned earlier, to do zero carbon for zero cost. There are going to be some areas which cost more. There are going to be areas that you can save money, but often you can balance off that energy optimization, energy efficiency with investments where you need to make them in some capital expenditure. So no, it's absolutely deliverable. We know that from our own experience and from that of many of our clients, where we run things like energy performance contracts and carbon performance contracts, where there's these gain share mechanisms in place. We're only able to do that because there are the savings which are associated with making these changes. So if you look at it as an integrated piece, we genuinely believe it can be done across different organisations. Now, depending on exactly your business and exactly what your emissions look like, how that's going to work and at what speed will vary, but the overall principle definitely holds.
There's a question here, are people willing to pay more for a greener service? I'm tempted to ask you, in a minute, sell me your service. In other words, why, if it's going to cost me more, or I think it's going to cost me more, should I be attracted to this?
because it won't cost you more. Because, as we've said,
How do you say that though?
Our messaging is that zero carbon for zero cost is possible. Because if you focus on all of those aspects, if you put the right technology into buildings to monitor the energy usage in them and to optimize the energy use in those buildings, if you put the right investments in place from an asset point of view, if you transition your fleet to electric where we know that the whole life costs are lower, if you look at how you buy your electricity, your energy, and make sure that you optimize that. If you put that entire package together and manage it effectively, then you can save money as well as doing the right thing and saving the planet as well. So there is that opportunity if you do it as an integrated program.
What's your broader perception of how those out there who are not in any way connected to Mitie are addressing what is going on? We've certainly in the last 2 days felt a real pressure of urgency, a real pressure of the multiplier, particularly from the next generation. Is that the way you're sensing it as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I think as you see the next generation coming through, it's just the expectation of how you work. There are lots of surveys which suggest that sort of 80-90% of millennials are making decisions about which organisation they work for on the basis of sustainability and social value and elements which are ones that maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago were not the reasons that people chose to work for businesses. I certainly know in my own experience, having recruited people during the pandemic, we were talking about having that happening virtually, that Mitie's leadership position in this area is one of the reasons they wanted to come and work for our business.
And with potential customers, is that something they're beginning to feel as well? The pressure from other customers and also from their staff and the next generation?
Absolutely, and it's being shown in policy as well. I mean, we've talked about some of the announcements that the UK Prime Minister has made, but the UK government have also said, for example, that from the 1st of January, all central government procurement will have a minimum 10% weighting on social value. Now, that's not purely climate, but climate is absolutely part of that. And so you're seeing more and more organisations are making procurement decisions with a view to sustainability in its widest form at the core of them. So absolutely that pressure is coming through.
Lillian LaRue, which action is bringing you the highest benefit? Which one's the most costly?
So the one which gives us the most benefit at the moment is our fleet transition. We're talking about mobility. For our business, we're a services company, and so moving people and the tools of the trade around to different client sites so they can do their jobs is at the heart of what we do. Therefore, it's an absolutely fundamental part of our emissions. And we know that there's also cost savings there. So making that transition to electric vehicles is the biggest opportunity. I think the area where the most work will need to happen through collaboration. We've talked about infrastructure for electric vehicles, but the infrastructure for heating and decarbonising heating systems, whether that be residential or in industrial premises, is probably the area which is the biggest challenge facing us all, I would suggest, over the next 10 to 20 years.
Well, one final thought of bridge building here. 2 days ago, we had one of the senior figures at SAP, the enormous accounting software firm, and he was suggesting that in their software they're going to create new green lines. In other words, lines which create a new imperative for accounting in profit and loss, which is no longer about the normal profit, but it's about a different kind of profit measured in different ways. Are you beginning to see that emerge?
Absolutely. I think the whole sort of approach of almost carbon accounting is something which we'll see more and more of. I think that's absolutely something that everyone needs to be considering as they move forward. It's no longer just about pounds, shillings and pence. Of course, that's important, but it's about a much wider profit line than purely the financial one.
All right. Well, Simon King, Chief Sustainability Officer for Mitie, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Much appreciated. A lot of good questions, and we hope that's very much opened the window to a lot of people out there to think in different ways about the way they're functioning in their companies. So thank you very much, Simon. We're going to take a break now. We'll be joined shortly by the Vice President of Sustainability and Mobility for the BMW Group. What kind of thoughts do you have about the model emerging in mobility for enormous car companies like BMW? Please send us your questions the normal way on the platform, questions or comments, while we take a 30-minute break back at 3:15 GMT. That's actually 15 minutes from now.